the Study in Study Abroad webinar series. Thank you for joining us today. We are pleased to host this session in a collaboration with Lancaster University. Lancaster's School of Computing and Communication is the forefront of the cybersecurity research and education. Its long-established NCSC certified masters in cybersecurity equips students with the knowledge and practical skills needed to tackle real-world cyber challenges. We are honored to have with us Professor Daniel Prince. Professor Daniel is an expert in cybersecurity who will explore cutting-edge research and provide an introduction to the topics covered in Lancaster's National Cybersecurity Center, Certified Masters in Cybersecurity. After the presentation, there will be a dedicated Q&A session where Professor Daniel will address your questions on studying at Lancaster. So please get ready to be inspired, and let's dive into what makes Lancaster an excellent choice for your academic journey. Without further delay, I'll now hand it over to you. Over to you, Professor.
Thank you very much. Rahul, if you could just drop us on the spotlight so I'm front and center for everybody. That's brilliant. Thank you. It's a real pleasure to be here to talk to you today about cybersecurity. It's a really fascinating subject, and one of the areas that I'm interested in and I teach on is around cyber threat intelligence and cyber risk management, which might sound like a boring topic, but actually it's really fundamental to understand who's coming after us in terms of cyberspace, how we can understand them, and then what we need to do about it. What risks do they actually pose? So what I'm going to be talking to you today about is really this sort of equation that people have seen, which is this idea that it's risk is equal to the threat times some sort of vulnerability times some sort of impact. Now, once you start to look at this kind of equation that sits there, it's front and center in a lot of textbooks. Once you start to look at it, you realize that this threat part is really important to understand, because the risk is a composite of the threats, basically the types of actors, bad actors, criminals that want to come after you, coupled with some sort of weakness in your systems. And by systems, we don't just mean the technology, but the way the organization works and the individuals. And that's then combined with what would actually happen to your organization or the people around you if this risk were to materialize. So we need to understand this combination of threat actor, vulnerability, weaknesses in our system, and these impacts. And so we need a systematic way to go through all of this. We need to understand, what do we mean by threat? How do we understand the threat actors? How do we understand the vulnerabilities? And then how do we understand the impacts? And so cyber threat intelligence, CTI, which many of you may have heard the term, is really how we understand this threat actor. Where does this threat come from? And I often talk to, when I'm presenting to my students, I also often talk to them about what does it mean? How do you understand threats? So, if you're walking down the street and you see somebody intimidating, you understand naturally that that might be a threat actor, somebody who can do you harm. And it's this part here, the vulnerability, the impact, which is really the harm that can be done to us. And what they might be doing, this threat actor that you meet in the street, will be taking advantage of some sort of vulnerability that they perceive or that you perceive. So in a physical space, that could be that you're smaller, not as physically well built, or that the threat actor might be more skilled than you. They may have gone on and studied martial arts, for example. And then because they have this vulnerability, this also dictates the type of impact they might have on you. How badly can they affect you? So we need a systematic way to do this cyber threat intelligence to understand the threat, but we also need to understand this area here, which is the cyber risk management aspect as well. So by combining a comprehensive understanding of cyber threat intelligence with this vulnerability impact under cyber risk management, we can get a better understanding of the risks that are posed to our organization. Now, why is that important in and of itself? Well, it all comes down to money, right? Ultimately, when we're putting cyber defenses in place, we need to spend money. It might be hard cash, but also it could be people's time and effort. We need to think about when we deploy people resources to set up defenses, which ones do we need to defend against the most? And so through this combination of cyber threat intelligence and cyber risk management, we are better able to spend our money more wisely. We can prioritize the risks that we're exposed to, the ones that can cause us the most impact, and then defend against those in the most appropriate way. But how do we do all of this? Well, one of the things that we need to really think about when it comes to cyber threat intelligence is how do we understand the threat actor's motivation? Okay, so we need to think about what makes a threat actor and what makes a threat actor important to us. So first thing you might want to think about is what we call capability. What does it mean to have capability to be able to exploit something for us? Can they, against us, can they actually do the things that will cause us damage? Do they have the skill sets? The other thing we might want to start to think about is capacity. Do they have the resources, capacity? Do they have the resources to be able to target us? Do they have the time? Okay, so there's capability and there's capacity. The other thing we might want to think about is motivation. Why would they want to do this? Okay, and we can think about these three factors by and large, and we can systematically go through those components to understand why and how a threat actor might want to attack us and how they can do that. All of this goes into what we call an intelligence life cycle. So what we do is we think about how do we get the information to be able to assess that? How do we assess that? And then how do we move through the different components to be able to do something that is ultimately what we would like to do is actionable. We want to have some actionable intelligence that comes out of that. Now, if we go back to our previous sort of discussion up here, the idea here is that we want some actionable information that comes from this threat actor so that it can inform us about the things that they might do to us, that exploit on us, the vulnerabilities, and what impact that they might want to be able to achieve against us. And that takes us into thinking about all sorts of different elements. So this isn't just about this idea that we might be the actual ultimate end target. It could also be that we are a stepping stone to some other individuals. And we all hear about things like supply chain risk. So we are a company that's an intermediary to another company, and our systems get exploited because we are connected to the ultimate target in some way. So from our CTI analysis, and that may be going on things like the dark web, getting intelligence, understanding how the threat actors work, looking at things like MITRE ATT&CK framework to understand tools, tactics, and procedures, understanding the history of attackers and advanced persistent threats. We get some actionable insights. And from those actionable insights, we know the types of vulnerabilities that they will go after. And we will also be aware of the types of impacts that they can achieve. So if they go after a specific type of weakness in our system that they are commonly known to do, we can see the types of bad outcomes that they are typically able to achieve. So this then feeds into our next component, which is thinking about the actual risk management. So once we have an understanding of the vulnerabilities and the impacts, we can start to think about what we call risk. Now, risk is really quite an interesting topic. It's got lots of different approaches to understand it, both using qualitative and quantitative methods. But one of the first stages when we're doing some sort of risk assessment is to identify the risks. So we need to do some identification. Identify. So first off, we need to identify the risks. And now that comes from the threat actor. And that might be a type of risk where they want to steal data. Okay? Or they might want to restrict access in something like a ransomware attack, but there are other modes, or they might want to steal resources. So we can think about the types of risks that are posed to our organizations and where they might come from. The next phase after we've identified the risk is to analyze those risks. We want to understand them in both the what we would refer to as the frequency, so how many times they might occur within a given time period, and thinking about their impact. So that allows us to classify, quantify, and understand, using the analysis process, which of these risks are worse than others. And then after we've done that analysis, we will be able to do our evaluation to decide which one of those risks are the ones that we really need to deal with. And to be able to do that, we need to have defined some sort of threshold, i.e., or thresholds. So above a certain level, so it's a very severe level, we definitely need to deal with it. This one's okay, we can accept it. We need to define the thresholds for us to be able to take actions. And that's part of this evaluation process. So we've identified our risks, we've done some analysis, and then we've done our evaluation. Now, there's a big challenge within cyber risk management, cyber threat intelligence, around the types of methods that we are currently using and currently employing. And at the moment, general practice or best practice is often not particularly rigorous, i.e., it's really down, ultimately, it's really down to the individual taking some action and understanding it by themselves, rather than using a method that they can repeat consistently. And if you gave that method to somebody else, you would get very similar, if not identical, results. So how can we make this more rigorous? Well, within the CTI space, we can employ clear methods and train, which is one of the things that we look at Lancaster. We go through the processes, we think about the different ways in which we can analyze the information, how we analyze the threat actor. That provides a clearer set of results, actionable intelligence, that we can then feed into the cyber risk management process. But then when it comes to things like the cyber risk management, once we've identified that, we can again still use qualitative methods for the identification based on the output from the actionable intelligence. But then we can start to use quantitative methods. And this is something that we look at quite closely and we do a lot of work on in our cyber risk management course. How do we actually get quantitative data, and how do we model the frequency and the impact so that we can have high quality models and evaluation of the cyber risk for our evaluation phase? So if we think about in the CRM phase, one of the key components in our analysis is this idea that we want to have frequency and we want to have impact of those events. What we can do is we can gather data, and we look at methods and approaches where we gather that data around the frequency, the number of times that it occurs. Sometimes we use a probability. Here, we still need to classify the probability of an outcome over some sort of time period. And then we can gather data about the impacts. And as we gather data, what we can do is we can collect distributions of probabilities of different number of events. So for frequency, we can be saying, well, what is the probability that, in this case, 6 events would occur within the time period? Or what is the probability that 12 events would occur? And so our probability is up here. So our probability density functions, our frequency curves, helps us to understand that. We can also do something very similar with impacts. What would be the probability of certain types of values that could occur because of this risk? So here we have money along the bottom, typically, and here we have probability going up the side. But how does this help us? We have these two distributions, and what we want to know is really how bad is this risk? Well, we can use something called a Monte Carlo simulation. And what we do with our students here is we actually spend some time coding and building these risk models, programming those, and running through different potential risks and trying to use this information to analyze and decide, as part of the evaluation, which is the worst types of risks that we need to deal with. Now, this might all sound a little bit, hard work and not particularly useful, or, why can't I just say, well, it's a really bad risk, or it's a medium risk, or it's a low risk? It's because cybersecurity is now exceptionally important, and we need better methods to be able to understand the ways in which our systems can be attacked and targeted. And so if we go all the way back to the beginning and think about what we said at the start, where we have this risk, the bad thing that can happen is a combination of the threats, the vulnerabilities within our systems, and the impacts that can occur, the harms. We need better methods that go through all of this, not just in terms of the quantitative methods, but also in the way that we deal with information around cyber threat intelligence, identification of risks. In fact, it's so important that this new way of thinking about risk, so using quantitative methods, has really found its way into the heart of many modern organizations. So organizations such as Netflix regularly use and develop their own quantitative approaches to cyber risk management, and have actually published Python libraries on how they undertake cyber risk management. So as you can see, that if organizations like Netflix are doing this type of work, it's really important for our students as they come out of our program to be able to do this as well. Not just understand the fundamental properties, but be able to take practical steps to build their own risk models, to be able to gather information and combine it in a rigorous way so that they can actually produce reliable results and outcomes that other decision makers and themselves can make decisions on to inform where they're going to invest money to get the best defense. And the reason why that is important is because still cybersecurity is a fundamentally underfunded area in many businesses. And so whilst they're employing a large number of very good people, the challenge is, in comparison to the main IT functions, how do we use the resources that may be limited so that we can actually take the best bang for our buck? How can we invest wisely to create the best protection for our organization? So hopefully that's been very useful. That's been about 15 minutes. I'll happy to take some questions on this later on. But that gives you also a glimpse of the type of things that we study and think about at Lancaster University. I'm now going to hand over to Johnny, who's going to talk through some of the other aspects of actually studying at Lancaster University. Thank you very much.
That's great. Thank you very much, Dan. And hopefully, as you mentioned, that gives people a real flavour of the teaching style that we have at Lancaster on our cybersecurity course. So give me 1 second, I'll get my slides ready. So hopefully that should be coming through for everyone there. Okay, fantastic. That gives you a sense really of our teaching style at Lancaster, and what I'd like to share with everyone next is some information about our campus, the university itself, and some key points about our masters in cybersecurity. We're also joined today by two of our current students on the cybersecurity masters course, Aditya and Tanil. So Aditya, Tanil, feel free to switch your your cameras on briefly just to wave and say hello to everyone. And then later I'll invite you to introduce yourselves when we get to the Q&A part. So sit tight for the moment. So yeah, let's get going. So I think it's worth highlighting as well before we dive into some more information about cybersecurity at Lancaster that, you know, the university, Lancaster University, has an excellent reputation both at a UK level and at an international level as well. You know, with those league tables that you are, I'm sure, undoubtedly familiar with. You know, and for those of you who've not heard of Lancaster before, I think it's really important to give you some context to where we're joining you from today. You know, and as you can see from Dan's office there, the sun is shining in Lancaster. It's a glorious day. So very briefly, where is Lancaster? So Lancaster is in the northwest of the United Kingdom. We're in a stunning part of the country. Nestled in some amazing countryside, but also very close to the city of Lancaster, which is only a short journey away, and cities such as Manchester, and it's only a short train journey, you know, to London. And we're very well connected to major transport hubs. So, you know, traveling from India, getting to Lancaster, getting to the UK, we're very well located to do this. On our campus there, you can see is a beautiful location to study. You can see the campus right there in the front of the image, but then in the background on the left, you can see the city of Lancaster. Then in the distance again, you can see you know, some of the Lake District hills and the countryside around us. You know, our student ambassadors, Tanil and Aditya, can tell you a bit more about this in the Q&A if you have any questions about our campus. But we really do think of our, you know, our university as a very welcoming, a very safe community. And the campus is almost like a small city, really. I mean, a very small city in comparison to cities in India, without a doubt, but it makes it very easily to settle in, and, you know, you can find your feet very quickly. Very briefly, it's worth mentioning that at Lancaster we have a college system as well. So, you know, we are one of a small number of universities to have this feature, including a dedicated postgraduate college there too. And the city of Lancaster is, you know, what I would really think of as the quintessential British city. You know, we have the castle, which you can see behind me. Oh, the other side. Try again. You know, we have a medieval castle. We have a lot of history here. We have plenty of coffee shops, plenty of tea shops, plenty of places you can go get food. And there are lots of events that take place across the year, such as food festivals, music festivals. And, you know, when you ask everyone here, they all have their favourite places in Lancaster and their favourite places to explore. But moving back towards the area of computing and towards the area of cybersecurity, I'd really like to highlight that, you know, the School of Computing and Communications, which Dan and our ambassadors belong to, has an excellent reputation within the UK, and most importantly has very strong links with industry, with external partners, and this feeds into the teaching environment and the student experience that we offer at Lancaster. We support our students as well, and we know how important it is for our master's students who are making this commitment to a year's worth of study, who are maybe coming from a different background, who are coming from somewhere outside of cybersecurity, or even students that are staying within this sector. You know, it's important that we can support you with this, and we have a number of mechanisms at Lancaster within our School of Computing and Communications. We have our feedback and assessment support team hub, or our FAST hub. And we also have learning development staff who can work with our cybersecurity students and our computing students. And this is also there in that business environment as well. We have a member of staff whose sole purpose is to build links with external employers and works with our students to support them on their placement journeys. And we also have two major research institutes embedded within the school as well, our Data Science Institute and also Security Lancaster, which Dan I know is very involved in himself. Now, a School of Computing and Communications, it wouldn't be anything without some cool equipment, some cool locations, and some cool tech. And at Lancaster, we are very, very proud to have received a substantial investment in the facilities that we offer, and we are home to one of the largest facilities in the United Kingdom for our cyber and computing student development. Actually, Dan, can I ask you to briefly explain this investment and maybe some of the excitement that we've seen around this at Lancaster recently?
Yeah, certainly. So we won about I think it was about £4 million to invest in some cutting edge capability to basically start to develop our cybersecurity teaching and computer science and data teaching. So that the image you've got there is the data immersion suite, which is a high resolution video space to provide information to a wide variety of ways. That will really help us to challenge and understand what it means to have high resolution displays of information within areas such as data science, AI, and cybersecurity. But we've also invested in some lab spaces as well, which are available for use for students to practice in. Again, these are 4 big labs that allow students to do their development work. And it was a whole refurbish of the building that I work in called InfoLab, which is all about, which is where all the academics from the School of Computer Communications reside. And we really wanted to create a space where the students were much more able to come in and do their work and study alongside the academics. These facilities were recently just opened officially, although we've been using them for a long time, by a gentleman named Chris Ensor, who's one of the directors for the National Cybersecurity Centre here in the UK. So that was quite a big thing for us to kind of get those people up to come and see it, and it was it was great for them. An indication of how good the facilities are. They wanted to come and do it.
That's great. Thank you very much, Dan. So our cybersecurity program at Lancaster, when we think about what makes us really stand out, what makes us very much, strong in terms of our offer as a university at Lancaster. The first thing really to highlight is that we are, we have one of the longest running master's courses in cybersecurity in the UK. We have those all-important certification from the National Cybersecurity Centre, which is only a short journey away from our campus here at Lancaster. So we're very well situated to access the investment that's coming into this part of the region of the United Kingdom. We also have the BCS accreditation as well. So that's the British Computing Society. In terms of the student experience, I won't say too much to this, but we offer a block mode teaching style at Lancaster, which maybe is a little bit more unique in comparison to other universities. But really, the strength is in that industry link that we have. So there's some companies there you can see listed, but these placements, these industry experiences are offered to our students who are on our MSc in cybersecurity. And I know Aditya and Tanil are going through this process at the moment. So if you have questions about what this involves, please ask us in the chat. For students who are interested in coming to Lancaster, in terms of the requirements that we ask for, so we would ask for students to have a 2-1 UK equivalent qualification, and we'll be looking for students to come from those computing, maths backgrounds. But we are, as long as you are able to show strengths and proficiencies in this area, then we do encourage students to come from other areas as well, and can consider a 2-2 on a case-by-case basis. In terms of professional developments, I've referenced before that we have these industry links that students benefit from on the course, but actually there's really so much that goes on outside of the main cybersecurity program. Actually, Aditya, I'm going to put you right on the spot here, given that I've got a slide with your picture on and one of your experiences. So what I've got here is some short snippets from your experience with B-Sides and LU Hack. Could you tell us a little bit more about this and what your experience has been outside of your studies studying cybersecurity at Lancaster?
Yeah, sure, Johnny. Yeah, thanks. First of all, a warm welcome to everyone on this webinar. And I'm currently pursuing Masters in Cybersecurity from Lancaster. And it's been a great journey here at Lancaster. The whole environment is quite friendly and especially student friendly. And after the university regular classes, there are two societies especially for computer department, and one is ComSoc department and one is LUHAC. And at LUHAC, it's like giving you something extra other than just lectures and seminars or webinars, whatever we have in our curriculum. This happens every Friday. We have some guest lectures or some sort of seminars are there where guests from the last month actually we had a seminar where it was for nuclear energy, role of cybersecurity in nuclear energy, and there were representations from different countries. It was a 2-hour seminar, and that was great. It gives you a opportunity to connect with people working in the same field who have been working in that particular field for a long period of time. And for this B-side events, it was fantastic. And it's B-side is a cybersecurity community based in USA. Dan's also part of that, and he was also there at that event. And it was great. I got to know more about what's real world problem and what are the research going in cybersecurity, what are the challenges, how you can improve yourself as a cybersecurity professional as well. And this is something which I recommend students coming to Lancaster to join B-Sides and go for those particular events. That gives you a lot of networking as well.
I think you're being quite humble, Aditya, because I'm sure you came first in a competition recently. So what was that competition? What did you do?
Okay, so it's Catch the Flag events, and such events are organized at multiple level. We had CTF event at Lancaster as well. For that also, our team won it. The team from Lancaster University won it, and I believe Daniel was one of the member of that particular team. And for me, I went to Catch the Flag event Yorkshire. It was organized by Sheffield Hallam University and companies like Hack the Box, HSBC, BCS, Steelocon, and many more were a sponsor of that, and we won there as well. So this shows that at Lancaster, you are not just taught theoretically; you are being nurtured, and you are being trained in practical as well. So winning back-to-back Catch the Flag events, that sort of great achievement in its own.
That's great. Thank you, Aditya. And Tanil as well. Congrats on winning that competition as well. I've not given you the credit that you deserve there. Fantastic. And really all the experiences, that Aditya shared there and Tanil will have experienced as well, it feeds through into the journeys that our students have when they come and study cybersecurity at Lancaster. So we have, alumni and graduates that go into a variety of roles, including Morgan, who moved into a company based in the UK. I believe that this was a direct result of the industry experience that he had. And Fabiola as well, who came to Lancaster from KPMG, was looking to actually gain some more skills and upskill before going back to her role within the company. The skills that the students learn on the course, they very much apply them in that theoretical, but also that practical aspect, as Aditya mentioned, and this really does serve them well for the future. We do offer, it's worth mentioning, if anyone is watching today and they are actually looking at undergraduate study instead of postgraduate study, we do have options to study cybersecurity undergraduate level as well. So please do bear that in mind. Now, before we move into the Q&A, I'd like to highlight that we are offering postgraduate scholarships for international students. So we have We have two main scholarships that are on offer for students applying from India. So we have Lancaster University Global Scholarship, and we have our Faculty of Science and Technology Dean's Awards. So both awards are a £5,000 partial tuition fee waiver, and students who apply are automatically considered, so there's no extra application process for this. They are for students looking to join us in 2025, so in October this year. And I would especially like to highlight that these awards can be combined. So for those who achieve the equivalent of a first class honours UK qualification, they will be eligible to receive a £10,000 fee reduction. And for those who achieve a 2-1, they would be eligible to receive £5,000 fee reduction. If you have any questions about the scholarships, please speak with the counsellors at SI UK. I'm sure they'll be more than happy to help you help answer any questions. You can also visit the Lancaster University website to find out more information there. Okay, so at this point, we would now like to take any questions from the audience for our student ambassadors, Aditya and Tanil. Before I hand over to Rahul to moderate the Q&A, I'll ask our ambassadors to introduce themselves, say their name, maybe a little bit about their journey to Lancaster. Tanil, I'm going to go to you first, so over to you.
Sure. Hi, everyone. So my name is Tanil. I moved up to Lancaster from South Africa. And before this, I had a bit of a background in software development, and I knew I wanted to change into cybersecurity. But obviously, it's a very broad field, and I wasn't sure which direction to take. So that's why I chose Lancaster, and I haven't been disappointed. It's a really great university to opt for.
Fantastic. Thank you, Tanil. Aditya, over to you.
Hi everyone, myself Aditya, and I come from India. Earlier coming to Lancaster, I was working as SAP consultant in Cognizant, and it was something around a couple of years back when I decided to move into cybersecurity. And while doing research about universities, countries, filtering out with all my criteria, I came across Lancaster, and it was perfect for me, and it has been a great journey, and I have enjoyed a lot here.
That's great. Thank you, Aditya. Rahul, I'll hand over to you to see if there's any questions that have come through on the Q&A. If not, I have some questions for Aditya and Tanil about their industry placement experience that's coming up. So Aditya, Tanil, I've given you a little bit of time there to think about that. So yeah, Rahul, I'll hand over to you at this point.
Yeah, thank you for the insightful presentations. We have some questions in the Q&A, and I'll just read it out. So the first question is, do I need a background in computer science or coding to apply for these courses?
So I can take that one. The thing is, you don't necessarily need to have a technical background. I would say it's beneficial, but it's not needed. The university really does a great job with helping you upskill and get to the place you need to be to, complete your assignments and to do well. So in terms of pre-reading material, the university does supply this. We do also have a lecturer that will supply you with some Python courses, which will really help get you up to speed. So I would definitely say it's not a necessity.
Thank you, Tanil. Dan, very quickly, would you be able to expand on that? I know in the past you've been involved as program director for cybersecurity, and I'm sure you've seen applications come through from a variety of different subject backgrounds, not just in computing. Is there anything that you would add to that?
No, I think Daniel's got it right on the money there. I think the key thing is to make sure that you've got a passion for it if you haven't got the technical background. If you haven't got the passion, then you are going to struggle, because you're going to have to, at some levels, to kind of catch up to understand the technical components. But as Tanil said, we work quite hard to try and encourage those with the attitude and the aptitude to apply and engage with the program. And we can and point, and I have done in the past, point applicants who are perhaps not at a sort of a standard computer science background in the right direction of the right courses to help them get to that level. I think the key thing for us is we want to make sure that you're going to have a good time and you're going to learn. So it's really important for us to have the right people to come on the course. And so if we're not sure, and I've done this in the past, about whether you are at the right level to be able to do it, I've worked very closely with applicants to kind of direct them and help them over sort of maybe a year between applications to just get them up to a level that we feel confident that they would be able to engage with the course fully and be able to achieve, because there's no point coming here if you can't engage with the course and have a terrible time. That's not going to be good for anybody.
Okay, thank you. So the next question is, what kind of jobs can I get after completing the Masters in Cybersecurity at Lancaster?
That's great, thank you, Rahul. Dan, are you able to jump in on that one?
Yeah, so for the last 5 years, I've been the program director, and I also helped set up this program way back nearly 12 years ago. And sort of been tracking some of the alumni that have come out of it. So you've seen the sort of the profiles of both Morgan and Fabiola, but generally our graduates go on to some very good jobs, both technical and non-technical. We see individuals going into like software development companies and cybersecurity companies doing pen testing, but also going into consultancy companies, the big fours. And that's not just in the UK, that is internationally. So for international students, when they go home, if they choose to go home, they are able to get into those types of jobs in those specialist roles. One of the things around our program is, again, Aditya and Tanil might want to comment on this, is it's quite broad in terms of the topic coverage. So we do everything from things like risk management, pen testing, forensics, all the way through to thinking about law and cybercrime and international relations. And that gives our graduates a really well-rounded set of capabilities and skills that enables them to apply to a broad range of jobs. So from being a SOC analyst, a pen tester, digital forensics expert, through consultancy. And one of the things that we do see quite a lot of is our students going quite quickly into managerial tracks, because they have that breadth of skills that are sometimes referred to as soft skills, but are actually very difficult to learn in some cases. And so they're very fit and ready to go into those kind of very professional leadership and management roles.
Okay, thank you. And the next question is, what makes Lancaster's cybersecurity course different from others in UK?
That's an excellent question. Tanil, go for it.
Sure. I think Dan kind of touched on it. It's a very broad scope that the university offers. And I think for me, it was really important to find a taught master's program. Just personally, I found research is fantastic, but it helps you to become an expert in a very specific area, whereas doing a taught-based program really gives you a great breadth of knowledge. So in terms of modules, like Dan mentioned, you do digital forensics, you do risk management. We even, dabble a bit in law, which is fantastic, because I think to become an expert in cybersecurity, it's really important to have a holistic view of the actual environment. And if you look at Lancaster's module specifically, it's got a great balance between your high-level modules as well as your more technical-based. So it really does grow your skills in all areas.
That's great. Thank you,
We
Tanil.
have one more question. Can you help me understand the placement prospects in cybersecurity?
Sure. Aditya, do you want to come in on that one?
Yeah. The thing with the Lancaster University is that they have a dedicated team for career counseling, and it's open for everyone. You can just book a slot for online meeting or in-person meeting. You can go there. They will look at your CV, profile, and cover letters as well. And you can take their help to apply for any particular company, or just make a resume. Other than that, they have a dedicated portal. You can make your resume there. You can practice on different kinds of uh, assessments like verbal reading or behavior-based examinations. So these things help a lot. And apart from this, for cybersecurity, we have a dedicated team which brings projects, industrial projects for us. And recently, I think everyone who has applied for industrial projects have got some industrial project to do, and that's going great so far.
Okay, great. So we are done with the Q&A session. Any final words you want to share?
Yeah, thank you, Rahul. Very briefly, Tanil, Aditya, I know you both have industry experience or placements coming up, so it would be great if you could quickly share who that's with, what will be involved in those placements. So yeah, Tanil, I'll go to you first on that one.
Sure. So for my industrial project, I'll basically be working with KPMG. Very excited about that. I'll be focusing on cybersecurity exercises in critical infrastructure. Before coming here, I didn't even know that was a thing. So it's a great example of how much you get taught you and how many new things you get introduced to. So basically, I'll be doing research with them, being able to have access to experts in the field on their side, just to help provide value and hopefully to contribute back to them as well. So we're still in the early stages, but I'm really excited about it, and who knows what opportunities could come from it.
That sounds fantastic, and yeah, best of luck with that, Tanil. I'm sure that'll be an amazing experience. Aditya, how about yourself?
I would like to give a brief about how this works around Lancaster University. So there is a team, as I mentioned earlier. So they will be start giving you list of projects around March first week. You have to select which projects you are interested into, and based on that, you have to submit your profile. Your profile will be evaluated, and they will schedule interviews accordingly. If you get selected, I mean that's competitive. You get selected, then you will be working with them. So I got selected into a couple of projects which I had applied for, but I'll be moving forward with Alexander Dennis, and my project will be working on CAN network in autonomous vehicles. So that's fantastic, and I literally had no idea about CAN network and attacks happening on CAN networks, cyber threat intelligence before coming here. So and that's great, and these are the things which I have upskilled here, and I look forward working with them.
Thank you, Aditya. Thank you for sharing that with us. Okay, I think we're coming towards the end of the session now. Very, very briefly before I hand over to Rahul to close. If you have questions after today, please get in touch with us. You can see my contact email address there. You're very welcome to get in touch. We also have on the Lancaster University website a number of our ambassadors who are studying cybersecurity, including Aditya and Tanil, but also other students as well. And I would encourage you to get in touch with them as well. And then lastly, if you would like to visit our cybersecurity course page, then you can scan the QR code and that will take you directly there. If you have questions, of course, Rahul and his team will be more than happy to help advise you with regards to your application. So I'd again encourage you to book an appointment and speak with his team to know more. So thank you very much, Aditya. Thank you, Tanil, and thank you, Dan, for sharing your insights today. Rahul, over to you to close the session.
Thank you for the valuable time. All the audience, if you have any further questions, feel free to contact the study in office in India. For more updates, do follow us on our social media handles. Bye-bye. Take care. Yeah.